Okay, let's see.
We are in a pandemic, girl.
Exactly. All right. It says that I am live. This is great. And so I am happy to be here. It is 9 p.m. Eastern Time here in the DC area. And so I am on time. And this makes me very happy because often I come here and oh, it doesn't show up. It shows up for me. Oh, it does. Okay, so you see it. Yay. Thank you to the live studio audience. Woo! Good. That's very, very good. Glad to be here. So we moved from doing this every week to every other week because we're in a global pandemic. And so I'm trying to balance work, life, entertainment, all of these things, and doing this, which is fun to connect with all of you. So if you are here, and I can see that some of you are, feel free to drop a hey, a hi, hello, whatever in the little comments there, or if you have questions already, feel free to drop that so that I can kind of look at that every now and then and make sure that I catch you. Good to have you. So I've been doing these sexual health and COVID-19 updates for a little over a month now, maybe a month and a half. And the origin of this was that COVID-19 came out and people weren't really saying a lot about sex, right? So we were talking about physical distancing or social distancing, which we saw much more of before. And so that's great. We don't want to be on top of each other during a pandemic when there is no treatment or cure for the virus that is attacking people. And so that's good. But the reality is people had questions about, like, should I be kissing my partner? Is this sexually transmitted? Like, all of these sex-related questions. So that's how this started. And I'm glad that in the month and a half that I've been doing this, way more articles, guidance, information about sex has started to come out. That makes me thrilled. So we bumped this down from every week to every other week. I have zero ego in this game. I tend to do, like, my approach to sexual health is what is missing. Where's the conversation not happening? Plug in there. And that's good. I'm seeing much more sex articles, so I don't feel like we need this every single week. But I still like doing it, so every other week is good. And this week, hey, Paul, good to see you. Hey, Kathy, good to see you too. Woo woo! I love this. I got to keep remembering to check down there and look for waves. So that's good. But yeah, so I'm doing this, and so now the thing that I am hearing people talk more about, and I thought time to put this in for a sexual health update, is dating. Sex dating couples. Two parts to that. One, for those of you who are living with your partner, maybe you're dating each other, maybe you've been cohabiting for years, maybe you newly moved in with each other, or I heard this example just yesterday. Maybe you were thinking about moving in with each other, and this person was living with a roommate who's a nurse and working with COVID patients, and they thought, you know what? Now's a good time to move out and move in with my partner. We were already talking about it, and I don't feel quite safe at home, so I need to move out. So we've got all kinds of things. People who've been living together for 35, 55 years, people who've been living together for 35, 55 days. So a huge span in that. But the thing is, whether you newly moved in with each other or you've been living with each other for years, chances are you were not in a situation where you saw each other all day, every day, day after day, week after week. We're now month after month, because I think we're now in month 2, heading into month 3 of social distancing, physical distancing. Hey, Beebs. Hey, Aletha. I'm seeing a few more names pop up there. I'm loving this, loving this. And so no matter how long you've been living with your partner, you were not under the understanding that you would be with them all the time. And so what I'm hearing across the board from people is, help. They're driving me insane. Every single thing they do is pissing me off. I just can't stand looking at them. The way they eat. Like, people are just getting on each other's nerves. So I'm hearing a lot of that across the board from everybody who's living with someone. So I want to address that. And then for those of us who are not living with a partner, right? You could have a couple different situations there too. Situations there. I was like, situations there, sounding like the occupant. I'm like, slam my words. But you could have a couple different situations there too. Maybe you aren't living with your partner because you do not have a partner. So you single, dating, interested in people, but you don't have a current partner. Or maybe you're single and that you don't have what you would call a boyfriend or a girlfriend or both or someone else completely, and you're on your own, and you just started dating that person, and so you're like, I'm not single, I am seeing someone, but and we started seeing before this, so now what do we do, kind of thing. Hey, Andre. Keep shouting out those heys. I love it. If you newly just signed in, drop a hey. I can't see who's in. It tells me there are people watching, but I don't know who is. So if you feel comfortable, we're all about consent here. So if you feel comfortable and you would like to tell me who you are, I would find that very nice. So thank you. Thank you, Greg. Hey, boy. Hey. Thank you. More of you people. I love this. I love seeing who's here. And again, no pressure. No pressure. If you don't want to, or if you're not watching live and joining in on this live action fun and you're watching this later, that's okay too. Okay, so that's what we're going to talk about though. We're talking about how do you kind of connect with someone and or not hate them during COVID. Ooh, should we ask? Oh, but before we jump in, I'm going to say I've been doing these for a few weeks, a couple months at this point, and I've started to get feedback from you too. Not you two, it's not you two people. Like there are 2 points of feedback that I want to address. And no judgments. I'm open to criticism. I'm open to feedback and things like that. It's how we learn. It's how we grow. Feedback is just input. What we decide to do with it is up to us, right? And so I'm always up for feedback. So 2 points that I want to talk about. First point of feedback was from a couple of the men folk. And the feedback was too much of my titties were hanging out in my other outfits and they weren't paying attention to what I was saying. It was just titty time all the time, booby time, all right, all time, all of that stuff, and they weren't paying attention to what I was saying. So many thoughts about that. I don't even know where to start. And maybe some of the lady folks were looking too but didn't feel comfortable saying it. That's fine too. But so many thoughts about all of this. I don't even know where to begin. One, I'm very pro-boob, pro-titty, pro-cleavage. I don't think we should be shaming anyone for the amount of cleavage that they do or do not show. So here you will see my naked, slutty, bare collarbone and shoulders tonight. You may not see cleavage. That literally just means this is what I had on today. So it wasn't a conscious choice. So I can't promise there will or will not be boobs next time. All I can say is that we should be accepting of everyone's breast. Whether you show a little bit, a lot, no matter, because they're just body parts in the end, and we should not be shaming anyone for their body parts. And I have to say, I've had a bit of weight gain in the past 20 years, right? So 20 years ago, I was an A cup, now I'm a D cup, and I could wear the exact same outfit, and it's going to look radically different on me. Even though I can fit the same clothes, the way they fit is very different compared to my boob size. And so we don't want to shame those of us who have a little bit of extra boobies. So there's that. The second point of critique or feedback that I got, which is related to that long-ass tangent I just did, is that I cover a lot of ground in this. And to that I have to say, I am a chatty Midwesterner, and I talk about a lot of things. And I've been writing, teaching, speaking, performing one-woman shows about sex for 15 years. 2005 is when I started getting paid to write about sex columns and sex advice, and I've written for a wide variety of people, from Fast Company to Lifetime, the television network, I've written for The Guardian, for Al Jazeera, a lot of different folks. And so, like, doing that for a long period of time, if I say something related to sex, I often think about 15 other tangents and ways in which I can kind of relate things to that. And so then I'll start thinking about, oh, I need to remember to say that. But this is only 30 minutes, and so there's only so much that I can cover. And consider the format. If I'm writing an article, like an op-ed, boom, here's the argument, here are the pieces that back it up. If I'm delivering a topic on stage for like 200 people, it's like, here's what this presentation is about, and I walk them through it. That's not what we're doing here. Like, here, it's a global pandemic. We're all trying to stay fucking sane. We're trying to connect with people in the way that we can. We're trying to find passion and love and excitement in the things that we love to do. I like connecting with other people. And so this is how I'm going to do it. So this is very free-flowing. Each episode has a general theme and topic. What makes it fun and why this is live is because sometimes y'all drop questions Or ooh, we got April here. Hey, April. We got Andre saying hey. Oh, and we got Andre saying you wear that weight well. Thank you, Andre. Thank you. I do. I didn't have curves before, and I love it. I have curves, and I like this. It's good. I'm getting curvier by the day with COVID, and like refusing to stay out of my kitchen, and then not put shit in my mouth when I'm in my kitchen, which is a whole different thing. And the gyms are all closed, but again, tangent. We're keeping this tight and focused. Okay, so episode 5, and again, drop any questions or ideas or feedbacks or thoughts or whatever in the live chat. And that's the beauty of this live chat. If you watch this later, you don't have the chance to do that. So feel free to take advantage of this, because I usually turn the comments off on YouTube videos because comments can be a dumpster fire in a lot of ways. Plus, it's just another thing to tend to. Generally speaking, if someone's reaching out to me for something, I like to respond, and I can't manage my inbox and my Twitter DMs and my Facebook messages and YouTube. Like, I try and reduce the number of orifices where people can enter my consciousness that I have to kind of get back to them. So that's what I want to say about that. Okay. Advice. Here's where we talk about those of you, we'll start with those of you who are living with other people and they're driving you insane. Couple different things to think about that. First, spend some time away from each other. And maybe you can do that in a structured way. I have a couple friends in Chicago that I adore. They're one of my favorite pairs of friends. Like, I see when people talk about relationship goals, I think of that couple. They're fantastic. And they know who they are. I'm going to send this to them afterwards and shame them for not watching because I called them out. They may be watching. Again, I don't know who is and who isn't. But anyway, one of the things that they do is, even during non-COVID times, they have off-limits nights. And so I'm going to pick random nights. See, it's Tuesday and Thursday. Tuesday night, it's this person's night in the apartment, and they own it, so their condo, I guess. It's this person's night. The other person is not allowed to come there under any circumstances, whether they go to the library, they hang out with their friends, do whatever you want. The apartment, the condo, our shared living space is off limits to you this entire evening from, say, 6 p.m. to midnight. You are not allowed to be here. That is their time, their space. It is your sacred space. Even if they're just sitting there watching TV, they have some time by themselves. And then, say, Thursday, it's now this person's time to have off limits for the other person. So from 6 p.m. to midnight, this person is not allowed in the place. They have it to themselves, and they know no matter what, again, even if they're not even doing anything, but just being home alone or going to bed early or whatever, or having their own fucking friends over, they have it to themselves. And I think that in relationships, we often forget you need you time. Like, you need time that you're not around, even if you're living with a person, where you're not looking at them, you don't hear from them, you don't have them in your physical space. I'm actually a big fan of couples, even if you're married, not sharing a living space. I know couples who live in the same space and have separate bedrooms. They sleep in each other's bedrooms for now, but they do have their own space. So if you just want to be like, I'm going to bed, I'm sleeping, however I want, where I want, they have their own bedroom and they can do that. And then I have other couple friends where it's like they live in different spaces. So maybe they have a house out in the country and they have an apartment in the city. And sometimes they spend time separately there, whether it be for a night, a month, whatever. They just kind of get out of each other's spaces. And so generally speaking, it's good to have those practices. So if you're in COVID right now and you're with your partner and they're driving you insane, one, it's possible that you didn't already have time built in before. The way that you structured your relationship didn't count for the time that you need by yourself in your own space. So that's the first thing. Two, even if you did, right, but now we're all on lockdown, and depending on what state you're in, you may or may not be able to only leave your house for food, medical supplies, and exercise. Like, you may be able to only do that, right? So in that case, I say, again, pick a time, even if it's a weekly time or whatever, take some time to yourself. So even if they're driving you crazy on Friday, you're like, Tuesday, I'm not going to see them again all day, right? And whether they need to get out of the house and go for a walk or a bike or whatever kind of exercise thing that we are all able to do to leave our house, or whatever you may have, but if they need to just physically leave. If you are so blessed to have a big enough space that there's an upstairs and a downstairs, or, west wing and an east wing, separate however you need to, but I would recommend doing it in a regular interval. The beauty of the regular interval is that's also your ripcord. You don't have to say, get out of my fucking face, like if you feel that, right? If you really feel that and you feel that, but you don't even have to necessarily say it because you know they are going to be out of your face. It's already every week, even if you feel you don't need it, they're out of there. So that kind of releases some of the pressure. That's one of the pieces of advice that I would give. There you go. And then always, obviously, communication. So if someone is driving you insane and getting in your nerves, and you have a healthy relationship, you should feel free to tell them that. Baby, I love you. I absolutely love you. We have not been able to spend time apart for the past, 72 days or however long we've been, together. I need space. How might we, and I love that phrase for any kind of relationship, whether you're talking work relationship or love relationship or friendship, how might we? Because what it does is it says, there's something that I want to work on, but I'm not going to say, when you do and make it a you thing, or say, I think, and make it an I thing. You're in that we space where you're saying, how might we do whatever? And then because it's not a yes or a no, like, do you think we need more time apart is yes or no. How might we still be living together in this small crowded space and still make time for ourselves? How might we do that? And it invites imagination and invites a win-win. Nobody loses with that, right? Like, there's not a wrong answer to how might we. And even if the do you think we spend too much time together? That can be like no wrong answer either. But I always like giving people a space to win, a space to come out looking good. And if someone feels backed into a yes or no, sometimes they feel like one is the wrong answer, so they'll give the quote, quote, right answer, even if they don't think that's the one they want to give. And so kind of leave more space for people to talk. Okay, so it's 9:17, and I've talked a lot about those of you who are living with each other. And I see a question here. When do you think it will be safe to meet people in person again? I'm going to save that one for last. Just like I saved the miscegenation one. Yeah, somebody asked a miscegenation question in the last one. Everything could happen here. Who knows? I never know what's going to happen. I don't know. You don't know. Nobody knows. The cats don't know. The studio audience doesn't know.
I don't know.
Nobody knows. It's a big wild card. So I'll save that one for the last and other questions that come in so you know that your question gets answered before that. So if you have more, drop them there. So I will answer that one. But yeah, so that's with the people who are living together. If you have any other questions, thoughts, feedback about people who are living together, feel free to drop that there. In the meantime, I'm going to move on to people who are not living with someone. Okay, so not living with someone. Ooh, there's a juicy one. Can sperm carry COVID? Same for vaginal fluids. Fantastic questions. I'm going to go straight to those. Okay, so first, if y'all been watching all along, you know I go in tirades about the so-called slutty juices because people talk about bodily fluids. Oh, so-and-so can be spread via bodily fluids. And then they only talk about really saliva, or maybe they'll talk about blood. But then if you start talking about semen or anal juices or vaginal secretions or vaginal juices, whatever phrase you want to use, right? Or cum, whatever word you use to describe these things, then all of a sudden it's seen as a different kind of question. We need to get to the point where someone can say, is that spread by vaginal fluids? Is that spread? Can sperm carry COVID? And that should be seen as normal and natural. A question is it transmitted through blood? Is it transmitted through saliva? Is it transmitted through sperm? We've got to get more comfortable with body fluids. Like, we're adults here, and we should be able to say adult things. I'm a big fan of that. So, great question. I love it. Since we were last together, my friends, there have been some updates. We learn things new all the time with COVID. So I should timestamp this and say this is what we know as of May 12th. So between now and the previous episode, they were saying we don't think that it can be sexually transmitted, or we have no proof that it can be sexually transmitted. And they were saying a little bit about warning against analingus because we're finding COVID in feces. And so even if you are tossing a salad or going, whatever, you've got a million phrases for that. But if you are licking someone's ass, basically, if you're eating someone's ass, and they were worried that because we're finding COVID in feces and we know that it's transmitted through saliva, we stay away from the analingus for now. So that's where we were at the last time we did this. Between then and now, they've found semen and sperm. And so they're saying did I say semen and sperm?
Yeah.
We've known, thank you, studio audience is like, yeah, you said that. I did. Believe it or not, they found semen and sperm. They found COVID in semen. And so just because something is present in a fluid doesn't mean that it can be transmitted that way. We know HIV is present in tears. There is no evidence as of now that it is present in a large enough percentage, or it's not present in such a way in tears that you can transmit it through tears. There are only 5 fluids that transmit HIV, and as of right now, tears isn't one of those fluids. COVID, it's still early, so just because they've found COVID in semen doesn't mean that we know for sure that COVID is sexually transmitted through semen. So I would say track that news, and of course tune in here because we'll always hear all this stuff. We're not afraid to talk about anything. Not afraid. Not afraid to talk about anything backed by science and medicine. I'm not a fan of pandemic style shit where we just talk about anything. Like, this is scientifically, medically backed, and I'll always say so and so. That I saw, like, for example, the sperm thing, I saw it in CNN, I saw it in New York Times. Find those articles, see who's reporting that, all of it. So it's not just like my original thoughts that I say something. I'm not a doctor, I'm an educator. So my role here is to tell you what I'm finding out, and you can go and search it for yourself as well. So they're finding it in sperm, so that's that. So feces, they're finding it there. They found it in sperm. As of, 2 days ago when I was reading those articles, they hadn't yet said anything about vaginal secretions or breast milk, right? And so we want to make sure, because people are breastfeeding their babies during this time. So breast milk, vaginal secretions, I hadn't seen either of those. Those are usually when I'm thinking reproductive fluids or fluids that people aren't thinking about. I'm thinking breast milk, vaginal secretion, anal juices, semen, sperm. Those are the kinds of things. So blood and saliva, they usually always hit those first. So there's that. Okay. What other question? Sperm, yes. Vaginal fluids. Cliffhanger. Who knows? Okay. And generally speaking, they tend to do more research on men than women. And so, like, we have Viagra, we don't have the same for women. So there tends to be, when they say something about sperm, it doesn't mean there's no vaginal secretions. It means we usually find out about men before we do women. So there's that. Okay. Great. Okay, so now we're talking about the single people. And we only have 7 minutes. It goes so fast. It goes so fast. All right, single people, and then we'll go back to when we'll be able to safely meet people in person again. Okay, single people. First, if you're single and kind of dating someone, have conversations about this, right? Because you're supposed to be not hanging with people who are not in your same household. And so people have moved in with each other, they've not moved, so like, have real conversations about that. If you're single but dating someone, right? Like, if you are still working in the kinds of job where you have to be around other people, and they are still working in a job where they have to be around other people, say you are an Uber driver and they're a nurse, and so you're constantly around other people. One, you've got your own risk, and then putting those together, there's all kinds of risk of transmission. And so I would say have real conversations about your safety and theirs, because even if you're staying home and doing nothing, but they're going out and exposing themselves, which puts you at risk, like, you have to have real conversations about these things. And so I would say start by talking to your partner that you're not living with and saying what your boundaries are, right? And then find out what their boundaries are. Because in sexual health, we talk a lot about harm reduction, and public health generally speaking, harm reduction. Because what that means is people will, at times, do things that we wish they didn't do. And so how can we reduce the harm, right? So one of the things, to reduce the likelihood of transmitting HIV, if we know that people are going to inject drugs intravenously, then we need needle exchanges so they're not sharing needles and reusing needles and transmitting blood to each other with needles. And so we need to give people clean needles. That's harm reduction. If people are going to do this, we need to make sure that they're doing it in a way that reduces the harm or reduces the risk, right? So these are the kinds of things that you need to be talking to your partner about. What you're comfortable with, what they're comfortable with, and you both need to respect each other's boundaries, right? Because it's like condom usage. If one says, I don't want to have sex without a condom, and the other one says, I only like having sex without condoms, I don't like how they feel, that's a conversation. You all need to negotiate Either A, yes, we will use condoms, or B, the other person says, I'm never using condoms, and therefore you two are not having penetrative vaginal sex or whatever that ends up being. But have conversations about that. Okay, 5 minutes. And so in these last, I will talk about the single people, and not just because I love talking about the situation that I'm in. No, I mean, I give way more time to the married people. But for single people, as someone who has been dating during COVID 19, it's been interesting, I've got to say. And I have to say, I've learned more about online dating during COVID that I'm going to adopt and keep after COVID, before COVID. And when I say dating, I should specify virtual, online only. I'm not physically going out and meeting anyone. That is something I would not feel comfortable with. And that we're not even supposed to be doing in my state. We're in a state where we're on lockdown, so only medical supplies, exercise, and food. That's all I've been doing since we've been told that's what we should do, and since before that, but that's a long story. Okay, so one of the things that I found interesting is that I've been telling people we need to do video chat. So like someone online likes me, I like them back. And I'm not paying for any of this shit, right? So I can't just randomly email someone. So they email me or they like me or somehow we've matched so that we can now contact each other. And so I usually only have one or two exchanges with them before I say, we should video chat. Because here's why. One, I'm not going to form any real connection with someone via the way that they type. Because if this weren't COVID times or even post-COVID times when we are out meeting each other, we wouldn't only be typing with each other. We'd be meeting each other in person. And so I would see if they are the person who's in the pictures, because people use fake pictures in other people's pictures. So I get to see if they look like the pictures, if they are the person in the picture, and I get to see a little bit of their personality, how they interact with me. And so I like going straight to video. And it's interesting because since I've adopted that, I'll notice all kinds of excuses. Oh, I don't know. I'm going to be out of the house. Oh, let's try this. Or I am not sure. Or, well, let's just stay here and chat. I don't know that I want to do video. And my thing is, if you look exactly like your pictures, if you think that we may eventually possibly date, we should be able to have a video chat with each other. Everybody's got cameras on their phones, on their iPads, on their laptops. Like, we should be able to video chat. So if someone is unwilling to do that, I unmatch them and I don't hang with them. And I like that. And that's something that I would do. I would FaceTime someone, I think, before I'd even meet them, because then why waste your time? So I think that that's something that's very nice to do. I think that's good. So I recommend that. So if you are single and doing the online dating thing and getting to kind of chat with people, go immediately to video chat as soon as you can. And don't reveal stuff about yourself. Don't have mail laying out that has like your personal address. Don't have video chat sex with someone if you're not comfortable with them recording it and placing it somewhere. Because again, you can record anything on any of these screens. So if you're not comfortable with that, don't do that. So just kind of, those are a few tips for that. Okay, so I quickly went through that because it's 1 minute before 9:30, and I want to make sure that I make time for this last question, which is, when do you think it will be safe to meet people in person again? Here's my thought, and I could be wrong, and this is being recorded, and so you can feel free to see it in the future. Who knows? My first thought is, I don't know. My birthday's January 20th, and I was just saying this to someone the other day, that like, almost exactly 8 weeks after my birthday. And I spent my birthday down on the wharf. We were up in one of these like shishi little places where you see the lights and the water and it's reflecting into the water, and we're toasting each other on the rooftop. I had an alpaca fur coat on and this gold dress and like my 4.5-inch heels, and I was having a blast. And you couldn't have told me that 8 weeks from that day I would be trapped inside my house because we'd be living through a global pandemic. So we don't know what we don't know. So that's the first thing. That said, if I had to shake a crystal ball and predict, which could be wrong, my guess is it won't be until August until we can really start actually talking about any kind of real reopening. Because I know some people are opening like soon, like now. And my guess is because we don't have a lot of testing, we're going to see spikes. Because people who are healthy and think, I've been healthy and I'm not at a risk, we have 18-year-olds dying of this shit, right? So it's like people are going to start, they're going to be bored. The weather's going to get nicer. They're going to want to go outside. So people are going to start doing that, and we're going to see a spike. And so, like, I don't think, even if we're opening now, and if you Google reopening COVID, and you'll see every fucking place that has done this, they've gotten a spike. South Korea had one person go to 5 different nightclubs, and because of that, 80 people were infected, and then those people kind of keep going. So when we reopen, you're going to start seeing spikes again. And so I don't think May or June. I don't even know if I'd say July. So I'd say maybe August, we'll start seeing a more regular. And Yashir, I retweeted this. He's like, we got to stop thinking of this as like a light switch, like closed, open, and start thinking of it as a dimmer. And I love that, right? Like start thinking as a slow dimmer instead of I'm going to go from seeing no one to like, and now I'm out and I'm doing it. It's like, whoa, shit, slow your roll. And so like I think August we'll start to see that dimmer kind of move a little. And then I think we're going to be in fall. I have fall allergies. Fall allergy, flu, all of that season. And so we'll see spikes. And so maybe the dimmer goes back a bit in the fall. And then the winter, late winter, or like December, January, all that stuff, maybe we can turn the dimmer up and open up a little. I think it's going to go back and forth. And I don't really think that we're really going to be at a point where we're out of this until we have a vaccine or real viable treatments. And so that's going to drive a lot of things. And that can literally be a year, at least from now. So that's kind of my thoughts about all of those things. So anyway, that's where we are. Thank you all for tuning in. I love this consensual kisses to everyone without saliva and through a screen so that we're not transmitting to each other. Love you all. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll do this again in 2 weeks. If you have ideas for what you'd like me to talk about and what you'd like to discuss, let me know and we'll do it. I'm open. I'm open to everything. All right. Thank you. Good night, everyone. Goodbye. Oh, goodbye from our studio audience. Hey, the kitties and Maggles, everybody. All right. Goodbye, everyone. It was so good to see you. Good to see you. Good night, Paul. Good to see you, Greg. Everyone, thank you so much. Kathy, I'm glad I had to answer the question. Andre, April, Beebs, Aletha, everyone. All right. Goodbye, everyone. Goodbye.